For joining us tonight. I have with me Jill Feeler Kelly, the president of Cognigen, and then also her daughter Brenna Keelan Kelly. And today I just wanted to ask some questions about your both of your interests in science and how you all got started, and maybe some things along the way that had inspired or influenced you. So, Jill, let's start with you. Tell me about how it all began, your love for science and your career at Cognigen.
Sure. Okay. Thanks, Lindsay. Well, I would say I certainly didn't know when I was getting started in my career that I was going to end up in pharmacometrics. This wasn't something that I knew existed back at that time. In high school, I had a lot of interests, so choosing a major for college was kind of tough. Actually, I did like chemistry and biology, but I really also liked math a whole lot, and I really liked English. I liked to write. So just kind of settling on one of those eventually, I started out at UB pursuing a bachelor's in math. And it wasn't until the second semester of my freshman year that a programming class in the math department kind of did me in. And I said, yep, maybe this isn't for me. I'm not meant to be a math major. And I found statistics, which really I thought, was more fun, and it had a lot of applicability. And I imagined that I could do a lot of different things with it because I really wasn't sure, what industry I wanted to end up in. So started pursuing statistics, and at my dad's encouragement, also looked into business and pursued a minor in management. So by the time I was finishing, between classes in statistics and in business, I really imagined that I would go into some industry where I could do some analytical stuff, I'll say, and I could do that for maybe a marketing group or something along those lines, because I really did like the marketing angle. And it was my senior year that my advisor in statistics introduced me to Ted Grasella, who was a professor in the pharmacy school at UB, and he needed some help. And so, we got to talking, and I ended up obviously taking a job for Ted in the UB Department of Pharmacy. And just to give you a sense of my maybe lack of maturity at that time. So I'm in my senior year of getting a bachelor's degree, and he's offered me a job that is in the field roughly, that I'm studying, that I'm going to be graduating. I'm engaged to be married already at that point, and I should be thinking about the future. And I really had to think hard about taking that job because I was going to be leaving behind a part-time job in a shoe store that I liked very much, thank you, because I got a discount and I got the first crack at the shipment, and I got to put shoes aside. So anyway, fortunately, thinking back on that, I made the right choice there and said, yeah, I'll take that job with Ted. And worked for him and did some programming and some statistical analysis. And he was a great mentor in that he was in the mindset of being an academician first back then. And so his teaching me and mentoring me and kind of helping me to learn the area, was really obviously instrumental in my career. And he really, in those early days, kind of tried to get me to commit that I really was all in, and this is what I wanted to stay in this area, and I wanted to learn it really well. And if I was, and I did eventually tell him that, yes, I really did want to stay in this area and I really enjoyed it, then he kind of plotted a course for me and said, well, these are all the things you need to fill in, because that degree in statistics and business really didn't, fully suit me for, the things that I was going to need to be doing in the modeling that we do, and the sort of the biology and the anatomy and physiology side. So he gave me a whole bunch of courses to take, and I pursued those. And in a few years after working with him at the University of Buffalo, together with Cindy Wallawander, who was our other partner at that time, we all left the university and we started the first company that kind of predated Cognigen, just had a different name, that was called Pharmaceutical Outcomes Research. And so, that obviously went really well, but I still wanted to pursue a master's degree or something like that. We worked with some students at UB who were pursuing PharmD degrees, doctors of pharmacy, and they did really interesting projects. And so for a while, I was trying to decide between going that as the next step or getting the master's in statistics. And I probably would have gone the other way and gotten the pharmacy degree, except that we had already started the company at that point. So that was kind of an all-in sort of thing. And we were really busy and trying to make it work. And for the PharmD degree, you needed to do these rotations where they were kind of during the day and for months on end. And the master's in statistics, on the other hand, could be done in the evenings at a school that was, about an hour away from here. And so I could drive there after working, during the day, and kind of get that done a little bit more easily that way. So in any case, I decided to do that after we'd been running the company for a while and trying to get things going. But again, I at the time when we first got started, I didn't know what any of this was, but learned it all along the way. And I think, that worked out really well. Learning it as I was doing it. I think you get a whole lot out of that kind of an experience. So I'm glad in hindsight, that I did it that way. But, along the way, obviously Ted was incredibly helpful as a mentor, and really, giving of his time and energy to, helping me learn what I needed to learn. In addition to spending time with me and helping me to, kind of get familiar with these concepts and understand it, more intuitively, what's behind the modeling that we do, and the pharmacokinetics angle. Cindy was an amazing other, sort of mentor and person to be inspired by as well. She had a similar background to me. We had worked together, from those earliest days. But in terms of starting the company and getting going, I mean, you we're never going to find someone more dedicated and committed to trying to make the company successful, and to working really, really hard at that. So that was amazing. But anyway, the other thing that I thought of after I knew you were going to do this interview, and we were talking about what the concept here was. In terms of another person that I never really put this together, but until I was thinking about getting ready for this conversation that we were going to have, another person that really, really, I think, ended up having a big impact on my career is my mom. Go figure, right? My mother was a registered nurse, for her whole professional career. She's now a retired registered nurse. And, growing up, she worked in a doctor's office, like a small practice. And for most of my life. Before that, she worked in a hospital. But, when I was around, she was pretty much working in this doctor's office. And she was just, sort of the nurse through and through. Okay. I mean, everything she did was sort of focused on helping people. And she never left work at work. She would come home and she would be still calling patients and making sure that she was following up on, so-and-so getting their blood work, and talking to the nurse who was on the next day, making sure that it was all seamless and everybody was taken care of, or calling the doctor and saying, I'm still thinking about that patient that we saw, whatever this issue or that issue was. And, that was just really, it was just who she was. And it was because, she cared about people and she really wanted to take care of them. And then, we'd be in the neighborhood, people would, want to, ask her about problems that they had or whatever. There were always those kind of situations. I know Brenda was just in one of these with my mom not that long ago, but it happened so many times in our life that we'd be somewhere and, like you're at church on Sunday morning, and it's a little hot, and so somebody is going to pass out, right? And that happens, and my mother is like, she has this sixth sense that that's going to happen, and she is just darts to the scene and is there helping that person, and she has her list of questions that she goes through, and I've observed her do this so many times. And have you eaten anything today, and do you have any health conditions, and do you have diabetes? She goes through this whole list and just knows what to do. But it's that wanting to take care of people and wanting to do something good that actually helps people, but also she always approached it in, I guess, I never thought of it at the time, but now I see it this way, in kind of a scientific way. She got the nursing journals that came to our house. So these nursing journals were always all over the living room. And, she'd always be looking things up. We had encyclopedias back in the day, that we'd refer to things. She had her Merck manual or whatever, and she'd always be looking things up when she, wanted to know more about something or just check on an issue. So anyway, I think, she in her own way was very scientific in her approach, but she also really, really cared about people, and that kind of drove her. And, I think that what we do has aspects of both of those, obviously. So I really think she was a big influence for me.
Yeah, that's great to hear. So, I did want to ask you if you wouldn't mind sharing around what age you were when you co-founded the company that, you know, pre-existed before it became Cognigen at a later time, because I think that's probably pretty profound. Um, I'm
Yeah.
guessing you were fairly young just based on the story you've told me so far. So,
Yeah, I had to think about it. I was just calculating it when you were talking. I was 23 when we started the company.
oh my gosh,
Yep.
that is amazing. Did
Yeah.
did you realize at the time, like, how profound of a circumstance that was?
No, absolutely
No.
not. I mean,
Okay.
really, I knew, I felt like I was lucky to be in the right situation at the right time. And I had already worked with Ted for, like about 3 years almost at that point by the time we started the company. And so we knew each other well. And again, he had already been, sort of acting as my mentor and wanting me to commit to, really doing this for a long time and learning as much as I could to do it well. But yeah, I really think I was incredibly fortunate to, have been introduced to Ted when I did, and then to have met him and Cindy. And of course, Jill Morrison, our other colleague, was also there working with Ted. So I have known her for that long as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I assume this probably also attests to your credibility, right? I mean, not many people would go into business with a 23-year-old. So
Yeah.
I
So maybe
I
he's
think you
crazy.
should also be extremely proud of the fact that Ted and Cindy were both like, "Hey, let's bring Jill into this and,
Yeah.
find a company together." So,
Yeah.
congratulations on that as well.
Thanks.
Um, I do want to switch now over to Brenna, if that's okay. So, Brenna, would you share your story with us? Tell us a little bit about yourself, where and what you're studying, and then maybe where you see yourself in a couple years.
Sure. Well, hi, my name is Brenda Keeling Kelly, and right now I'm a senior studying material science and engineering in the Purdue University Honors College. With that, I'm focusing my elective courses on metals and manufacturing. I really have a passion for those two topics, and I have no idea where I'll be in 10 years, but maybe 5 years out, I would have liked to have completed a master's degree in manufacturing engineering. And I don't know. I'd really like to be working on a team where I can contribute to design for manufacturing. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Okay. Well, okay. So now let's move into, well, first of all, thank you for sharing, and also congratulations on your senior year and moving forward towards graduation and embarking soon on your professional career. Tell us a little bit about how you would describe your mom, and, if there's anything in her professional career, personal life, or anything else along the way that has inspired you or provided some kind of significance in your pursuit for engineering or
sure.
just life in general.
Well, sure. Um, Even though she's never been as passionate about steel as I am, my mom has had such a huge impact on my professional career. Um, she's just so passionate about her work at Cognigen, and I know how much she cares for like the work being done there and also the people who work there. I honestly believe there's no goal that she can't accomplish and nothing that's too great of a task for her. And I don't know, she just does it with such perseverance and kindness. That part completely inspires me every day. Um, I thought it was funny. My mom was talking about Ted's mentorship and Cindy's dedication and her mother, my grandmother's situation where work was so intertwined with every aspect of her life. Um, I feel like she must have learned so much from these people because as she's telling these stories, I'm like, wow, that's exactly what she's like. That's exactly how I would have described her. As for a particular moment, I remember being especially wowed when she was recognized as one of the Buffalo Business First Women of Influence. At the time, I was only like 15 years old, maybe, and I was just starting to think about college and a career. And I was just so inspired that here's my mom, who was like honored as this female entrepreneur and rock star for her influence in Buffalo. And I just thought that was so inspiring, and that she had impacted so many people. And I just wanted to be like that someday too. So that definitely impacted my decision to pursue a degree in engineering and STEM.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I would agree. I've only been with Cognigen for a short amount of time, but I also see all those traits that Jill was talking about in herself. So, especially with perseverance and kindness. And as a president, I think those are two very important characteristics to have, to not only inspire your employees, but also treat them with respect and compassion. And Jill, you do an excellent job of both of those. So, final thing here, Jill, what advice would you give Brenna as she embarks on her professional journey? So, another way to look at this is if you could go back in time and also maybe give some advice to your younger self, what do you think that would be?
Yeah. Well, I think there's so many things, but at least two that I would focus on. And, the second one definitely was a really big deal for me. But the first one, I think, Brenda, you come by this really, really honestly, but I think trusting your instincts and really following that, your moral compass and your faith, and just this is the direction that makes sense to me. And, knowing that you've got to be able to, be able to sleep at night and be comfortable with the decisions you've made and the things that you've done. You've got that voice inside your head that's telling you, what probably the right thing to do is, and you got to trust that, because you're a wonderful person, and that's going to guide you in the right direction. And the second part, I don't take this to be, I hope it doesn't sound in conflict with that first one, because it shouldn't be. But in my brain, there's also this thing about not being afraid to do that next thing. So I think in my life anyway, I've been in this situation a lot of times, especially when I look back over so many years of doing this, where there were so many things going on, and that next thing was added on top, and it was sort of like a really, like, I can't possibly do this is just one too many, or it's that thing that I just do not feel comfortable with, and I don't think I can take this on in addition to everything else. And I think you gotta have the courage to try it and to do it, and always take it one day at a time and work hard at those kind of situations. But when you're in them, don't think that you're not capable of handling it. Try it anyway, because I think you're going to find out on the other side that you were able to handle that thing. You'll grow from it. You'll impress yourself that you were able to take it on, and the next time something like that, you might find that it's something you love, and it's something that you end up doing more of. Or you'll just really sort of be proud of yourself for having tried it and taken it on. You are supremely capable. I know this, from 21 years of knowing you. I really think there's nothing you can't do. I know you'll be really successful in, wherever you end up. And I can't wait to see where it is and what you choose to do, because I do think you'll be very, very successful at whatever it is. And of course, no matter what, I'll always be there for you. Your dad and your brother will always be there for you, and we're all proud of you. So we're really looking forward to seeing what you decide to do, and how well you do it.
Thank you so much, Jill, for those inspiring words for Brenna. And I as well look forward to Brenna seeing what you end up doing with your career, and we will be following you closely, I'm sure.
Thanks, Mom. You're making me tear up over here.
I know.